Well, today I'm going to talk to you just for a minute about how to tell your story. And here's what I would say about this. It does not matter if it's in a keynote presentation, in a social media video like this, or you're just talking to someone. Here's the thing is you have to be clear on what is your story. That is where most people drop the ball, is they didn't think through clearly what are the stories in my life that truly represent what I stand for, what I believe in, what's representative of my personal brand. Now, of course, I'm talking about how to tell your story through the lens of a personal brand, but there are stories in your life, real life, personal stories, not analogies, not other people's stories, that are your stories that truly do expose the elements of who you are as both a human being and a personal brand. And I just find most people don't think they have good stories, or they don't know how to connect those stories to their message or their personal brand. So here's what I would say. Step one, make a list of your stories. And in fact, on my phone, I've got, just the normal little notes app that comes standard with your iPhone, if you have an iPhone. I literally just make a list of stories and funny things that happen on an everyday basis that I might at some point use when I talk about my message. In fact, my son Jasper, my 3.5-year-old, my oldest child, here recently we were talking about how we have a family business and how, maybe one day the kids would want to work in the business, and he was trying to understand why we have this podcast studio set up in our basement, and he loves to go in there, and he said, well, what do you do? And we were talking to him about it, and we said, well, hey buddy, do you think one day that you would want to work in the family business? And he stood there and he paused and he said, well, I'm gonna need a phone for that. And it's like, how do you collect these little stories and then connect them to what you talk about? And for me, it's as soon as that happened, I was like, I know exactly how I'm gonna tie this into as we talk about how you hire people and their perception of what's needed versus your perception of what's needed. And we were trying to have this really emotional moment when our 3.5-year-old, and he was like, this is my chance. I'm gonna need a phone for that, Mom. That's what I'm gonna need a phone for, versus all the videos and the apps and all the things that he likes to do. And it's not hard, it's just not top of mind. So if you really wanna know how do you tell your story, you gotta first think about, what are your stories? What are the stories that have meaning to you that other people could relate to? And how do you tell them in a way that's just not a cute story about your kids or your life, but it's a story that is universal, that could be shared with anyone, right? And it's I can very easily take that very I-focused story and turn it into a universal story that any parent, that any mom, that any family business could relate to. And that's what you got to start doing. It's thinking about what are the categories that you talk about, and then think about your personal stories. So yeah, we didn't get into the hardcore structure of how do you tell a story, because I know the first step is you have to know what your stories are. You have to have a stories list. And it shouldn't be a list that you do one time and then you forget, because guess what? Life happens every single day. There is a story to be told every single day. What's your story? Where do you have it documented? And where are you going to use it?